Today, we're going to break down a really interesting list from Z Business, one that details 8 long-term stock picks from some of the top brokerage firms. So, let's just dive right in and see what the analysts are betting on for the future. If you're an investor, you get it. The constant challenge is always finding solid, long-term ideas. It's never easy, is it? So today, we're going to treat these analyst recommendations like a case study, a chance to really understand the strategic thinking behind this particular portfolio. So here's our game plan. We'll start with the big picture view, then we'll group the stocks by theme. We'll hit finance first, then consumer goods, and finally a pretty unique engineering pick. And we'll wrap it all up by figuring out what it all means. All right, so before we get into the nitty-gritty of specific companies, let's get a feel for the overall shape of this 8-stock portfolio. What kind of companies are we even looking at here? First things first, a quick but super important definition. Market capitalization. It's really just a simple measure of a company's size. You've got large caps, those are the giants. Then you have small caps, and of course, mid caps, which are right in the middle. Getting this is absolutely key to grasping the potential risk and stability of these picks. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. Just look at the mix here. 5 of the 8 stocks are large caps. I mean, that tells you a lot, right? There's a clear preference for bigger, more established players. The analysts then round this out with 2 mid-caps and just 1 small cap, which suggests a strategy that's all about stability but still carves out a little room for growth. Okay, let's move to our first and largest group. And wow, a remarkable 5 out of the 8 recommendations are all concentrated in the financial sector. That's a huge tell, isn't it? It signals that these analysts see some pretty significant long-term potential in banking and insurance. And this just illustrates that point perfectly. You have 2 absolute banking powerhouses, HDFC and ICICI Bank. And then you have 3 major insurance players, ICICI Lombard, HDFC Life, and ICICI Prudential. It's a clear and very powerful bet on the strength of India's financial infrastructure. All right, so let's shift gears and move away from the world of finance. Our next theme brings things a little closer to home. These next 2 picks are companies whose products, well, many of us might actually have them in our own houses. They're focused squarely on the everyday consumer. And here are 2 mid-cap stocks. We've got Bajaj Consumer Care, which is a household name in personal care products, recommended by ICICI Securities. And then there's Orient Electric, a leader in fans and appliances, which was picked by Axis Direct. Both of these are bets on steady, consistent consumer spending. Now for our final category, which features just a single very interesting stock. This is the only small cap on the entire list, and it's also the only one from the industrial sector. That makes it a real standout. The company is Elecon Engineering. As you can see, it's recommended by Access Direct. This is a very different kind of bet compared to the banks and the consumer brands we just talked about. It's a targeted play on the industrial side of the economy, a niche where these analysts clearly see some significant potential. So, we've walked through all 8 of the individual stocks. Now let's pull the lens back and synthesize all this. As a collection, what does this portfolio really tell us about the analyst's long-term view of the market? Well, in essence, this is a portfolio that's built on a foundation of large-cap financial giants. That solid base is then diversified with some mid-cap consumer staples and a single, higher-growth potential small cap from the engineering sector. The strategy really seems to be one that balances stability with some very selective growth opportunities. And now for a crucial point. We are just explaining the information from the source article, and that article includes this vital disclaimer. These are the opinions of specific investment experts. This is not financial advice, and you should always consult your own advisor before making any financial decisions. So, we'll leave you with one final thought to chew on. This list is heavily focused on finance, with nods to consumer and industrial sectors. But what major parts of the economy are not represented here? Sometimes, thinking about what's missing is just as insightful as analyzing what's actually there. Thanks for joining us.